Randy, it's great to see you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Everybody, welcome. This is episode 168 of Tech Sales Insights. Really excited to have a unique executive, Rich Kucharski, who is currently the global field CTO and transformation leader at Dynatrace. We have an awesome title topic, Bridging Business Goals with Technical Solutions to Sell More. For those that are members of Sales Community, thanks so much. For those that are not, Tucker will put up a free link, lots of great content and networking to be had there. And thanks to Convertive, who's our sponsor today. They are the sales and marketing tech stack consulting partner sponsor of Sales Community. And by chance, you had, remember your prior company, we're working with them on a project, right?
Right. A great team and great insight, and, ultimately helped me see a lot of things that we were doing wrong. Unfortunately, we weren't able to move forward with him, but just super great to work with and very informative. So look forward to catching up with them again soon too.
Awesome. So by way of introduction, live in Franklin Lakes in Bergen County in New Jersey, for those that are familiar there. And family-wise, married, will be 30 years in July. So maybe you can give us some tips on that, and also 4 wonderful kids. So congrats on the 30 years.
Thank you. Gosh, it feels like, sometimes 30 days and sometimes not. But
easy.
All great.
There you go. And we originally met back when he was a IT exec at Bear Stearns, when Bear Stearns was the powerhouse before the unfortunate financial collapse. So I actually knew him in a vendor to a customer kind of selling and partner strategy, which was really great way to meet you. And then certainly it's been awesome to see you evolve in a very well-rounded go-to-market executive, and certainly always very impressive. And speaking of impressive, I've got some intros. I ask people usually for one sentence. And one I have from Dan Zugelder, who's a CRO at Dynatrace. I'm just going to pause here for a sec. So Tucker says LinkedIn Live is lagging. Tucker, is it okay if I keep going, or should I pause? Yeah, keep going. All right. And as always, we have Tucker behind the scenes helping. So thank you, Tucker, for your help. Anyway, so Dan Zugelder, who's awesome in his own right, past guest and advisory board member as well, just like you are, says Rich has been and continues to be a visionary in the market. He has a unique ability to engage with customers on where the market is going and how to best achieve a future state architecture. He is awesome. He's also building a transformation business that will be unique here at Dynatrace. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And Andy O'Brien, who's likewise good friend, advisory board member. He's a VP of sales at ASAPP. Says Rich is a good friend who has a remarkable ability to take his deep understanding of technology and translate it into business terms. He is equally at ease with deeply technical engineering teams, as well as the C-suite. He is a unique talent, as he has achieved great success as a technology provider and as a customer and as a consumer. Izar Sharon, who is now CEO of OpenDrive, said Rich is master of all trades. He can do the large companies like EMC, VMware, PMC, and small startups, storage or virtualization or any technology out there. He is great at always customer and people focus, which translates to value for customers and vendors. Andrew Gilman, who's currently CMO at NWN Carousel, also advisory board member, said I had the pleasure of working closely with Rich during our time at Amuda, where we worked together to build the company from the ground up. It was an incredible experience to be part of the early team that helped Amuda establish itself as a leader in the AI data security space. Rich's leadership and technical expertise played a crucial role in our early success, and I witnessed firsthand his ability to bring people together and drive innovation. As Amuda grew, Rich's vision and strategic guidance helped the company achieve remarkable growth, ultimately reaching valuation over $1 billion. It was an honor to work alongside Rich during that period. I'm proud of the impact that we made together. His unique blend of technical and business acumen combined with his collaborative approach make him an exceptional leader who gets results. I'm grateful for our shared experience and the incredible accomplishments we achieved together. You could tell he's the marketing guy.
Wow.
So eloquent. And then Steve Sullivan, who you worked with, I believe, at XIV, who's now at Infinidat, is an EVP and CRO, also advisory board member. So I first met Rich 15 years ago with the acquisition of XIV by IBM. We worked together pretty closely, building out sales teams within the new organization. And it didn't take me long to understand that Rich is one of the best customer-facing, customer-first individuals in the industry. I remember early on at XIV, we had a few product issues, and Rich was the tip of the spear working alongside the customer and sales team to ensure a successful outcome. He has such a calming persona and knows technology better than most, which gives him instant credibility with customers, even in the most difficult circumstances. He can interface with any level of the customer org chart, from the executive team right down to the individual contributor. I know this may sound like a reference for Rich, but this is who he is, one of the best in the industry. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Rich. So can't get much better than that. And yes, I will send those to you.
Well, following Seinfeld, I'm going to take the George Costanza approach and say maybe we should end right here.
There you go. Exactly. And as we go here, for those that are watching or listening along, feel free to chime in with any comments or questions as well. And Tucker, we may have an extra space there between the dot and the com in case people want to click on the link for the free sales community membership. So jumping into the questions, you went to William Patterson University, graduated in 94, and your first job was at Sharp Electronics?
Yeah, it was, an interesting journey. We'll kind of touch on it along the way, but I wound up going to school at night part-time as well, but did start at Sharp Electronics, starting off in the operations team, focused on, to totally date all of us, Novell NetWare 311, big upgrades to 312, and so forth. So that was where it all started on the operations side of things.
Awesome. And then maybe quickly go through your impressive career from there.
And from there, this thing called the internet was starting, and me and a buddy started a small company, started building websites for companies and so forth, and got acquired on a really small scale by a local newspaper. But it helped. I would say that was the start of giving me the understanding of what it takes to not only sell technology, hey, look at this cool widget, but how would apply and benefit on the business side. And then from there, I went over to EMC, which really, was a great culture. I mean, all the names you had mentioned, I had the great fortune to work for most of those guys and learn a ton from them. Probably my best boss was my first boss at EMC, Bruce Lakin, and he instilled two things of what a leader should be: either know the answer or know how to get the answer. And as complex as things are today, one person can't know the answer. So it's something, kind of to the comments earlier, which I hope I live up to. Half of what the team said about me is, how do you build connections with people to ultimately put the best solution forward? And I learned a lot of that at EMC. And what really became core to me, between early Sharp Electronics and EMC, is it's all about the data. If you can provide a platform that provides seamless access to data, it really can help transform a company. And if you look at my career, which bounced back and forth between startups and large corporations, especially on the customer side, I feel like I always had a focus on data and being able to either help deliver a solution to that or use it on the customer side. So from EMC, a little startup called XIV, which was part of IBM, and then did some time at JP Morgan, where I was responsible for their x86 estate, both physical and virtual. And what we built there was a service owner and solution owner. So I was responsible for the delivery of that. And there's a lot of parallels to what I'm doing now at Dynatrace, as far as it doesn't matter if this breaks or that breaks. It's the ultimate service that we want to deliver to the customer. So there, my customer was internal developers and application owners. Here, it's focusing against some of our largest customers, delivering a single solution to them, driving great business outcomes. So that has always been the North Star for me, and really the importance of that.
Awesome. So great. Totally diverse, going between I'll say the end user customer side, the go-to-market side, and some would say the dark side of the go-to-market sales side, but you're handling it very well. So our title topic is Bridging Business Goals with Technical Solutions to Sell More. So I guess kind of breaking this down into different pieces. The idea is, I guess, first you have to figure out from a technical perspective, what does your solution do, right?
Right. So we spend, a lot of time working with customers on understanding their challenges, and by and large, whether it's a large customer or small customer, they're wrestling with being able to develop applications quickly and have their customers consume them more effectively, right? That's kind of the story. Everything else, to me, is a detail that sits underneath it. What I think is really unique and what pulled me to Dynatrace is their view of that end-to-end solution through the application. So, when we talk about end-to-end, it is the customer on their phone running the application, trying to book a flight, book a car, book a whatever, through some data or something sitting on the back end. So able to provide that perspective there. And the challenge for us really is being able to articulate the value we could deliver. I think over the course of time, people have become accustomed to, Randy, you're the server guy. Tucker, you're the storage guy. Somebody else is the network guy. And everyone says, hey, not my problem. So this really flattens the organization out from the application into that, to say, this is what is broken and this is how we can solve that problem, or this is what we're doing proactively for you.
Gotcha. So you take the kind of technical aspect in terms of what you do, and then kind of what's your kind of secret sauce to say, okay, how do you translate that to kind of what's a business impact?
Exactly. Right. So, when some of those measurements are, at the highest of levels, customer satisfaction, how that's rated, things like that. So it's really trying to figure out what are the key points that the constituent we're facing off against is worrying about, and how do we solve that?
Gotcha. So understanding the customer challenges, but at the same time, if you make the challenges better or whatever, then you still have to figure out, okay, how do you, cost justify it from an ROI or kind of value selling perspective, so that way it kind of makes sense.
Right. And, there's no white space, right? So everywhere you're either competing with an existing vendor tool or product, or some operational process that has been in place for the past N years, where I'll pick on you a little bit, where Randy, is the step 27 guy in the process. And while he loves to talk about change, he's very open to change as long as step 27 still stays there. So how can we help the Randys of the world see the value we deliver, which may, take what they do and remove that from the overall process.
Yeah. And then going back to the, whatever, 30 odd years ago, kind of EMC value selling days, I think it still holds, but the ultimate home run is you have a sales proposal that the CFO gets really excited about, because you're saying, here's how we're going to help you generate revenue. Here's how we're going to help you save money, get a competitive advantage, kind of stay out of jail. Maybe if that's in the security side.
Right.
Do you find that as well?
It is. And I think there's another complexity or another persona in it. Like back then we talked about IT, CFO, maybe empowering the business, and I'll put air quotes around that. But now the focus, listen to any earnings call that you want. There's always the topic of, we're making it easier for our customers to do something, to make a reservation, to book a hotel, to whatever. It's getting extended much broader. And I think that's really where the value of Dynatrace is comes in, and we're able to tell that much bigger story. And that is something that always ties up not only to the CFO, but what we're seeing is ties into a CEO initiative or board level initiative. Happy customers are usually good.
Absolutely, and that helps drive revenue and market share and growth. So, speaking of that, so Dynatrace, full disclosure, until you and Dan and some others went there, I really didn't know anything about it. It's actually round numbers a $1.5 billion revenue company, and give or take, kind of 20% plus year over year growth, and that's pretty large and pretty impressive.
Right, it is, and yeah, the company has been growing really well. What's great for me and the team that I'm part of, a lot of the guys have been there, 10 plus years, 15 plus years. So they've seen this evolution of this company, which started off on application performance monitoring and kind of growing the footprint from there. And because of that unique perspective of looking through the application, they're able to pull this larger piece together. Another thing that's been really impressive to me, aside from the revenue growth, is how they've iterated the product along the way. We're in the process of releasing the third generation of the platform, which is really impressive to have sales growing at that rate and have the technology keeping up with or actually leading the revenue and fitting customer needs that way. So from a health perspective, I'm super excited about the opportunity and what the company is doing.
That's great. So you got a unique role in your kind of CTO role, but it seems to be kind of more a combination of, I'll call it, traditional pre-sales systems engineering, as well as a really cool transformation growth area. So on the kind of the systems engineering pre-sales side, what's going on there?
Yeah, and I see. I'll answer the question, but to kind of start it off, there's a great overlap between the two. I think, if you go back in time, it was very much focused on, I have this thing, it solves this problem, you should buy it, right? Where now we're setting a journey, and I think it's really important to establish what perfect could look like, and then set a journey to get there, which kind of pulls in all the teams at Dynatrace serving a customer. And really our focus is how do we outserve our competitors, driving a great solution for that. One of the things I learned going back to the EMC days, if you remember when they started moving into software, the greatest software platform on the planet, Control Center, ECC, good story, rough around the edges, and there were a lot of challenges. And that's something that helped shape my career early on, where, as you get older, sometimes you get better or you forget the things that didn't work. But it's the importance of driving a shared vision with the customer. And along the way, we'd like it to be perfect, but you're going to run into sharp edges or knives or potholes or, whatever you want to call it, the old hidden rake in the front yard. Mm-hmm. But if you can connect the customer to perfect, some stuff is going to break along the way, but ultimately we're going to get there. And I think that's really critical, especially in complex solutions that are looking across the whole entire infrastructure. So that's kind of the connection to the SE. How do we build this shared vision, this path with the customer, and then set a journey in place to do that? And that, it kind of sets up and makes the transformation piece part of that motion. It's not a separate motion that we have to go and establish.
Yeah. So where are you heading that you can talk to kind of on the transformation side?
As far as constituents, like personas.
Kind of what are the results? So, a year from now, 2 years from now, how is that, transformation successful?
Yeah. Oh, great. We talked about it. Dynatrace has been on an incredible tear as far as growth goes. What our plan is how do we take the top customers that some of them are here today and just expand the footprint of Dynatrace within those accounts, where they're telling the story of, because of Dynatrace, we now do this better. A great example of that that's kind of a diamond in the rough out there, but one of the first stories I heard, how many times have you checked into a hotel room? They give you the card to swipe your door, as the key. You stick it in your back pocket next to your phone. You walk all the way across Las Vegas, up 3 elevator banks. You go tap your card. It doesn't work, right?
Right.
You go. One of the cruise lines is using us in monitoring the doors. So if Randy, walks all the way down the ship, goes to open his door and it doesn't open, Dynatrace detects that, and somebody is immediately dispatched to go solve that problem. Hey, Randy, what happened? We see blah, blah, blah. Let me in your room. Show me some ID. Let me in your room. So it's something like that where it's really touching the customer. And think about how upset you would be if your kid was in there and you had in the room or something like that. So being able to tell those types of stories more broadly and have customers stand up for us is the goal.
Oh, awesome. And if you think about kind of your, kind of priorities / challenges besides what you've already mentioned, any kind of 2 or 3 come to mind?
It's funny, you posted something today. I may be old school, but are EBCs still important? They are. They're like really important. And it's something where you could tell and shape a big story. And
Right.
A new team member just joined on the marketing side, Michelle Vaughn, who's really great. And I'm working with her on an EBC, better defining the EBCs. So like I said, we have a lot of diamonds in the rough. It's how do we stitch these together and not fall into the rat hole of, let me talk about the what's in the hows in great detail. That's all critical and important. But I think we need to do, a better job of shaping the why and how we're going to help you get there, supported by a great technology platform.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the kind of cool thing is that, we could be having the same discussion 20 years ago, right? So, I mean, of the challenge of what you have, it's not like it hasn't been done before. And,
right.
You and Dan and others have seen the movie, several times. So you kind of have your kind of hands on the right levers and can kind of see where it is that you want to go.
Right. And I think that's something you bring out 2 points there. One is working at great companies in the past, you learn and understand what great can be, and you understand how to shape that vision and help a customer get there. I was talking to Bernie Barker, who's part of the team, another EMC guy from way back when, and he and I have done our share of startups, and startups have great stories, and it's hard to get relevant and hard to have the technology around it. So it's refreshing to be here where the platform is there. It's just orchestrating the story and the path for customers to see.
Awesome. So with that growth, I assume you guys have some openings on the go-to-market side?
Yeah. So they'll, as a plug, check out careers.dynatrace.com. There's a bunch of recs in the system now, both from a sales engineering side and a sales exec side.
Awesome. And if you're in the elevator with somebody, you got 30 seconds, what would you say in terms of what's special about the culture, or why should I want to work at Dynatrace?
Yeah. Kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, I would say a majority of the sales engineering team falls into one of 2 buckets: greater than 8 years, less than 2 years. And it's not that the people in the middle quit, it's just they've been here such a long time, and the growth is really starting over the past couple of years to go. Everybody has been extremely helpful, gone out of their way to get me engaged in things. So I would say a welcoming culture, but there's a level of accountability, which I think is really important. One of the themes from our sales kickoff was just 2 weeks ago is ACT, accountable. We own this. We have to help shape this and drive that forward. But there's a level of, comfort and support around it. If you fail, it's not like I'm going to give you a thousand lashes with the stick either.
Gotcha. All right. Very, very cool. So you'd mentioned kind of focus on those strategic accounts. So is there anything unique or different that you're doing relative to, I'll call it kind of, basically lead gen at those accounts? Because there's probably new people you're trying to get to.
Right. It is funny, going back, you think of lead gen as how you don't know me, let me talk about whatever. So in some of these cases, we're going out and meeting new personas within it, lead gen, we're finding new people. One of the ways that I've found to be effective is with that shared vision, working with somebody inside of IT to build that. You could almost be their sales rep. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're the customer. Hey, Randy, here's what we're building. Who are the people you face off with in development that, may not be your biggest friends, your biggest advocates? Yeah. Let me go talk to them and show them how we could help. So at some levels, helping our internal IT, typical seller or people we would sell to, going out to their customers. And that's been a great way for us to get out into other areas. We also do a lot of outreaches through the DevSecOps space and so forth, just a separate motion altogether.
Gotcha. Very cool. And then, with that as well, I assume there's kind of, I'll just call it kind of old school relationship building. Obviously, you have to have a great product. And the saying is, know me, like me, trust me. But I would imagine kind of at the executive level, you're kind of working on doing mapping relationship wise. I'd say executive on down.
That's correct. And that's something, because of where the product came from on the app side and, ease of deployment, consumption, and so forth. Sometimes we don't have those relationships that you think we would have within organizations. So the teams that Dan and others are building are bringing in executives that have those relationships before and kind of connecting some of those dots within the organization, helping the sales teams move outside of their comfort selling area.
Awesome. Very, very cool. And with that, you mentioned this kind of your focus more on those large strategic accounts. Is that really kind of where Dynatrace plays versus kind of smaller companies?
No, it's I would say unique in that it's a platform. It could fit in small customers and large customers. Not Randy's taco stand, but small medium businesses do well with the platform. So it's one of those things where we are talking more about the platform of Dynatrace and how it could benefit customers, both small and large. Clearly, the larger the customer is, the more complexity that you would have in the environment, the more value we can deliver from that. So that becomes more of the sweet spot, but the platform is pretty beneficial across verticals.
That's great. So changing gears a little bit here. So, everybody has mentors in their life. Any one or two in particular you would call out, and any specific advice that you'd received?
Yeah, it's, as we talked about, I've had the great fortune to work for a lot of great leaders. One name that pops out is Jim Sullivan. He was really the first guy that I had first leader that I had leaving EMC, and taught me a few things which still, are applicable to this day about hiring and understanding where you're coming from. So he's somebody that I always put in that bucket. And just kind of early EMC days, working with Steve Fitz and Kevin Delane, you mentioned Andy and Dan, both had a great impact on my career early days. So very appreciative of all of those guys.
Excellent. Very cool. Very cool. Any one or two CEO leaders along the way that you've been particularly impressed with? This is not a old school EMC commercial, but early on, I got invited to a Mark Lewis, who was the CTO of EMC for a while, leadership meeting, and Mike Rutgers got to speak at it. And he made a couple comments that
I would say hopefully helped make some of the comments that some of the guys said earlier about me. And so Mike Rutgers is one, and kind of his ending point was, I want more of my leaders to be leaders of other companies. He was very focused on what's best for the person. Hopefully that's best for EMC, but if it's not, that's a good thing for the person. So he's been somebody like that. Joe Tucci, who I had the good fortune to work with a few times and get some good coaching from, was an incredible connector and maybe one of the best sales CEOs that certainly I have ever run into. So early guys to kind of shape my career there. Yeah.
Awesome. Very, very cool. And what about any advice you'd give to your younger self?
Yeah. Be patient. I kind of look back over my career and say, what was my trajectory? What was I trying to do? I think my advice would be more thoughtful in what you're doing. I think in some cases I do an okay job with that, but certainly other areas anybody can improve from that. So really, as much as we talked earlier about what does that state of perfect look like and how do we get there, probably some advice that I should have taken, 20 years ago.
There you go. Well, you still got plenty of years left, so no time like the present. So again, we've got Rich Kucharski here. Lots of great wisdom here being shared. Anybody that's listening or watching, feel free to comment and especially ask any questions. What always happens is then I get these notes afterwards and say, oh, that was great. And I'm like, okay, why don't you ask any question? And I was throwing it out there. So anyway, so you're watching, ask some questions. And now what's evolved over the years a lot is kind of sales ops and rev ops, right? It used to be kind of rear view mirror stuff. Now there's a lot that really helps you going forward. What's your perspective?
Yeah, and this is something I learned at startups, like the data matters. Why are we winning? Why are we losing? What are we trying to do better to make us all better? One of the leaders I worked for at a startup had this thing called a PAR, a post-activity review. And, it follows any military discipline. What did we try to do, or what did we intend to do? How did we execute? What could we get better with? And RevOps fits into that. We ran a campaign. We expected this. How did we execute or not of that? And I think it's really important to understand, why are we losing? Why are we winning? And so that has become a good practice for me. I think it's important to be reflective on yourself, and that's a good place to get it through RevOps.
Awesome. Very cool. So we have from Mark Foley. Thanks for the question, Mark. I'm interested in your perspective on sales engineers in the sales and demo process and the sales skill set or lack thereof. Also connectivity between AEs and SEs in the process.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a couple of pieces. I'm going to answer it in reverse order, if that's okay.
Great.
So my belief is the SE owns the technical relationship with the customer. It doesn't mean they do everything in the process. It doesn't mean we don't need CSMs or PS or anything like that, but they need to be aware of what's going on in the account. And that sets up the second part of the question. I believe the SE and AE are teammates, and that both should have equal amounts of hands on the football or lacrosse stick or whatever analogy you want to talk about, and come to the best decision. And if you look at some of the larger wins anywhere, you could see where the SE was and how they executed great or poorly, and what was done to adjust. So I think it needs to be a great partnership. I think there needs to be trust and the ability to say no or yes, and here's why. Which kind of sets up the demo part of it. Everybody has seen this play over and over again. Just show them the demo and we're totally going to get to the POC, and then we'll just do the POC. which kind of sets you on a path of you're probably going to do a demo, you're probably going to do a POC that lasts a really long time. And then going back to RevOps, it says close no project, right? That's not an effective piece there. Better understanding what are we trying to do. Let me share with you how we solve this problem at another customer. You probably have something similar to that, and kind of shaping it is critical in any large or small sales opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Mark. And for any others, feel free to chime in. So what about I think I did I might be old school post a few weeks ago, but I would say kind of just the general sloppiness of the demo / probably more POC process now compared to what I perceive to be a much tighter process kind of 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said earlier. There's this mindset of, if we just do more of something, we're going to win based on percentages, which sometimes becomes a RevOps challenge. Hey, 80% of the time we win. So if we do this 1,000 times, we're going to win 800 times. That's not true. That's not. So I think being able to better shape, understand, and the thing you learn from a startup, it's not bad to say no.
Right.
And we don't do that. We don't have blue buttons here. We don't need the blue button for this reason, and it would drive this type of outcome. But if we're doing a comparison, this company has blue buttons, where your blue buttons, you're just on a path for a long, anguishing no.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing over the years I've seen is you have kind of, green, yellow, red zone in terms of where to go. So a rep may pursue, there's, an RFP and you have no relationship, you're not tied in, it's not really spec for you. So it may be, on the one hand, it could be a big entry in your forecast, but the probability is just so low. Right. So making sure that companies kind of really articulate for the sales teams, kind of green zone, here's what the exact profile is of what you should do. And then to your point, there's a lot to be said for saying no before resources get tied up and wasted, especially at an earlier stage company, right?
Right. And I just kind of finishing on the POC, I'm of the mindset of we need a standard template. And it's, if you said to a customer, hey, what do you want to test? Just tell me and we'll do it. You go on this path. But if I came back to you and said, Randy, here's a test plan. We use this all the time. It's 80% complete. You round out the 20%. More often than not, they're like, hey, that's fine. If you could do these 3 things, we'll move past the text selection piece. So it gives us the ability to shape what we want to do, give the customer the ability to add to it, subtract to it, or get their fingerprints on it and build that shared success piece, and then go off and execute, And it also gives you the point to go validate with their boss or maybe her boss's boss to say, here's what we're doing. Here's what we expect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the piece I see missing a lot is, kind of, if you bear down kind of what you said, the essence of what you said is, okay, if we do A, B, and C and whatever else, then you will buy, or you will recommend to so-and-so that you will buy, and that decision-making process is this, and here's what the time frame is, right? And of those different pieces, there's at least one, if not 2, that seems to always get missed, right? Okay, hey, we're doing a POC. Well, what's the criteria? What's the time frame? What do they need to see? And it just seems, it's just, crazy how loosey-goosey a lot of that is.
Right. And it's investment on everybody's side. Forget about us, the customer, we're running them through the ringer, taking up time for them too. So it needs to be a good validation point.
Yeah, totally. So now talking about reps and SEs, I have a point of view, and you can't pick both. So given a choice for, I'll say, longevity of accounts, would you rather have an SE on an account for 5 or 10 years or a rep on account for 5 or 10 years? And my answer is the SE, because that's the one that is kind of, not that the sales rep isn't important, but the SE is really the true partner and the smarts and kind of knows where everything is and what's going on. What's your take?
Yeah, you said it way better than I would have. Because they become a bit of a glue and a connector. and probably they're longer there than some of the execs that they've been facing off with, and become a source of truth, providing input into why decisions were made and how they can, how we can help them get better at that.
Yeah, it would actually be interesting because I know the tenure of a CRO, say, is kind of year and a half. Sales folks probably kind of 3 years. We've actually not seen anything with SEs, but I bet you the tenure or longevity of SEs has to be kind of 2 or 3x what sales reps are.
Right. I don't know the stat, but it seems right looking back across where I've been.
Yeah, that's great. And then kind of from a retention perspective, over the years, I've always found that, similarly on the SE side, they're kind of a lot more into the kind of training and development aspect of them personally in their careers, more so than sales is. Sales usually is a little bit more coin operated, kind of, what's the financial opportunity. So, SEs, because of that, usually have a kind of longer term view.
Right. One other piece I'll add, which, based on what I'm seeing here is totally true, is just the collaboration between the engineering team and the sales organization team, where, there's SCs in the field that would say, we have that feature because of what I did. There's a level of ownership in the big platform, which is really important for the team. Their work is valued not only from a compensation perspective, which is always really great, but also they feel like they're part of the bigger solution, which is important.
Yeah, it's really kind of the customer/sales side tied into the SE, and the SE taking the ball, depending upon how the company is constructed, to product management and or the actual engineers doing the real work, so that then that feature can be loaded in for the customer.
Correct.
Great. All right. Well, time flies when you're having fun here. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. And Rich, you have been awesome. Lots of great wisdom for sure. Next week, we have somebody that Scott Wood, who's a VP and GM of compute at HPE. And he's actually a football official. So his title topic is go-to-market learnings from a football official, which will be interesting. And then a week after that, I think you also know Jim Delia, who runs Global Ops at Workday. And his title topic is People, Scale, and Innovation, the three-legged stool of successful RevOps. So all good stuff for sure. So Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. Rich, you've been awesome. This gets kind of reposted everywhere. And Jim Murphy said, great interview, guys. Thanks, Jim. And everybody otherwise have a great day and a great rest of the week.